Hi everybody, Rock Dude here.
Marky Z, welcome to another awesome episode of the
Rockin' House.
Today's special guest we have all the way from Salt Lake City, Utah. The band is called Spirit Machines, and they got a brand new vibe to their sound. They're like this hard rock band with a hippie attitude. Pepper Rose brings some awesome vocals to the band as well as their sound. And they got this mashup that's really climbing the charts right now. It's a mashup between Led Zeppelin and Tool, and they're calling it Zober.
Yeah, if you go to YouTube, you can find the Kashmir cover by Led Zeppelin. It's awesome. It's done their way. It's getting a lot of hits. And yeah, Spirit Machines, if it sounds like a hippie vibe, definitely is. They have that look too. So for a bunch of young musicians, they're definitely old school. They're from Utah. And it's one of the bands that we really think are going to be successful down the road. So everybody keep their eye on Spirit Machines. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's bring them on to the show. Welcome Spirit Machines to the Rockin' House. Marky Z, and I'm with Rock Dude, my partner, and welcome to the Rockin' House, guys. We're glad to have you on the show today. Spirit Machine is with us all the way from Salt Lake City, Utah. Welcome to the show, both of you guys. Let's start with, it's Pepper, right?
It's awesome.
And Dave, right?
Yep, it's Pepper.
All right, Pepper sings and you play the guitar. So let's talk about how Spirit Machines became the band that they are, and the name. How did it come about? What made you guys become a musician? Let's start with that.
Ooh, a musician. I'd say, music soothes. My dad's a musician. He's plays a lot of guitar and bass, so was always listening to a lot of music, and I was alone a lot as a kid and just humming to myself and had alone with the guitar and just kind of taught myself over the years, and as an adult came back to it.
All right. And how about you, Dave?
I picked up a guitar when I was 13 and started learning every Aerosmith song just to piss my father off, and started a rock band then, and pretty much continued playing music and making music happen for like the next 20 years.
Awesome.
Awesome. Then I moved out to Salt Lake and met this one, had an open mic, and the rest is Spirit Machine's lore after that.
The rest is history. Okay, so Spirit Machine was born that way. Now, how did you guys come up with that name? I'm a real spiritual person myself. I do meditations, I'm into chakras, I'm into all that kind of thing. I'm spiritually connected. Where did that name come from? Were you guys in that way, or you were spiritual type individual?
In that way. You're just like dancing around the are you Mormon question.
Okay.
Dave came up with the name. It's funny because when we started writing the songs, I didn't know it was going to be a band. I thought that we were just dicking around, and he unveiled. He's like, yeah, I think that we call ourselves Spirit Machines, and he's a big Our Lady Peace fan, and showed me an album by them.
It's actually the 20th anniversary of this record. It's called Spiritual Machines.
Oh, all right.
And it's also a book. But I thought it was kind of funny that we're in a city that's so religious, and I thought it was it has a religious undertone.
Right.
But to me, it's like
that's true.
To me, it's like we're all spirit machines. We all have spirits in us.
Okay.
There's a lot of like psychedelics here in Utah. There's the desert, so. The idea of the spirit and
ghost in the shell kind of sort of ideas.
Okay.
Like what really makes us tick.
All right. So very interesting. So you got the name by that situation. You're surrounding Salt Lake City, and I do know about the Mormon thing with Utah, and of course that's a big thing there. It's been for years, and I don't think that's going to change. But let's move on a little bit and talk about like where you guys connected, like. When you brought in your bass player, when you brought in your drummer. I had a minute to talk with him before we came on the show right now. Mike Collins, and he had some cool
What did he
stuff to
say?
talk about.
Did you say anything messed up?
No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, he said you guys had a great chemistry from the start. So I'd like to hear it from you
Yeah.
guys on how things started clicking with Spirit Machines as a band.
Uh, well, Dave and I, we had been writing some songs acoustically in we like lived in this 400 square foot hovel, and we're just singing to each other from the bed next to the kitchen. And I had my own songs, and Dave was helping me maybe put together a band, and he'd been jamming with Mike,
Okay.
and then about a jazz open mic, right?
Yes, he
Yeah.
said something about an open mic. That's correct.
Yeah, and we played one of my songs, which is more like country rock, and it just was like way too aggressive, you know. And it was funny. And Dave, we were recording it. We recorded it somewhere. There's a recording of this song, and then Dave looked at each other. He was like, "Well, why don't we play Eagle?" I think is the first one, and
It was just obvious that
yeah,
that the way that we were gonna work together
Sure.
was not gonna be in like a cute pop rock way.
Yeah.
It was
I
gonna
got
be.
you.
And the thing for me and like I played in a lot of like punk bands and pop bands back in Boston, but like the metal audience here in Salt Lake City is vibrant,
Really?
and so it was just like I love to play for an audience. I like to make music for an audience.
Nice.
So it just metal was. I mean, it's not a metal band, but there's a lot of metal in it more than anything else I've done.
I was excited because when I started writing songs, I had a lot of cute like country. There's a lot of country influences, and that was what I was going for. But in my heart, like I always loved Black Sabbath and Tool and all of these darker bands. And
Oh yeah.
so when Dave was writing these chords that was just dark, I was just like, oh, that's like more what I want. And
But to me, they're just jazz chords that don't have the
Right.
bottom to them.
Right.
So it's like, I played in like hip hop bands for the past like 12 years,
Nice.
and gypsy chords are pretty useful.
And that's where Mike comes in. Mike's an amazing pianist, actually first before a drummer, and
Is that
so
right?
He's so good.
Yeah.
he's really good.
Wow.
And so he understands how songs, it's not just drums, it's like part of the movement, and I think he understands the emotion from moment to moment. When we played our first song, Eagle, it just immediately clicked, where he just knew,
Okay.
he always knows where we're going.
Pepper,
with
let's
it
go a
somehow.
little bit deeper. I want to start with you. Let's go a little bit deeper with who your influences are.
My influences, so my uncle actually was a drummer, and he had this like Kiss cover band when he was in high school, and I always had heard stories about this, and he gave me my first Ozzy CD, and
Nice.
kept me away from the Britney Spears, and my dad's a black man, so
Yep.
with a guitar in his hand, so we listened to a lot of Hendrix, a lot of Bob Marley, and but meanwhile, my friend had a paper route, and I used to go with her on this paper route, and we'd have to listen to country radio.
Okay.
And so I've just heard like all of this country, and it all kind of comes together. And everybody likes. I like Modest Mouse a lot. I think that's where I kind of like full.
Everybody likes
Crossover.
Modest Mouse here in Salt Lake.
Yeah,
All right, that's a big one, huh? All right. What
Yeah.
about you, Dave? What's your influences on the guitar? Who
Like
would
I
you
said,
say?
Aerosmith is how I started. I learned as much Aerosmith as I could.
Okay.
It's pretty much still great.
All right.
But then I started listening to, like I said, Our Lady Peace, and then Say Anything
Okay.
is when I started to get punk. But then after that, I was very I booked probably over 20, I don't know, probably 5,000 shows in Boston.
Really?
Between the years of 2008 to 2017.
Wow.
And I just saw every independent band that existed, up and down the East Coast that would tour through Boston.
Wow.
Australian bands, and everybody that I saw, I took something from.
Okay.
It didn't matter what genre it was. I was just a sponge to whatever they're playing.
So you were like a wide spectrum guy. Like it didn't matter. You didn't just stick to like, oh, I like, Randy Rhoads and I like, Steve Harris. But you were like, dude, I'm going to take whatever I can from anything I see that works for me. And I'll tell you what, we're going to come back with Spirit Machines in just a minute. This is Marky Z, and welcome back again. We got Mike Collins, a drummer for Spirit Machines. And Mike, we're going to talk about how you became the drummer in the band Spirit Machines. How did that happen?
Perfect. So, like, before we went live, I was telling you, I grew up in Utah, and there's a lot of Mormons here.
Okay.
And Mormon parents are famous for, like, pushing their kids into piano from, like, very early age.
Okay.
And so I grew up Mormon. I'm not Mormon anymore, but my parents started me playing the piano when I was 4.
Gotcha.
And I played piano from, like, when I was 4 to 16. And piano is kind of like a percussive. A lot of people don't realize, but it's actually a percussion instrument because the keys are hitting the strings and everything. So it's a lot of the same technique. And so when I was 12, I joined the junior high band, and I could play any instrument I wanted, so I picked drums.
Okay.
And then I got this amazing drum teacher who basically, he wouldn't teach me unless I play every single style, because all I wanted to do was play rock. But he taught me jazz, Latin, all this stuff. And then, so from that point, I was just playing in, like, the school band and stuff. And then when I was 17, I saw this VH1 Behind the Music for Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
And, like, before then, I'd always thought classic rock was, like, that's, like, old people music. Like, I just had no idea. I was just, like, a stupid kid. And when I saw that, I was like, because in that VH1, I realized, like, they were, like, my age at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, clicked for me. Like, oh, shit, like, these old bands, like, used to be young. And that just blew my mind because I was like, they look so cool on that. And, like, it was talking about how their fans, like, tore apart St. Louis when they didn't play. Like, they had that riot and everything. And I was like, it'd be so cool to be a part of this band where, like, thousands of people are just rioting because you're not playing. And so that really inspired me to play rock, like, get in a rock band. So I joined a small band when I was in high school, but we never were able to, like, promote ourselves. We just couldn't understand, like, no one was coming. Like, are we good? Like, we just couldn't figure out, like, we didn't know how much work it requires to actually get people to come. Like, it doesn't always happen where you just play amazing and people come.
No,
like, maybe for some bands, but I never had that experience. So then I stopped playing music, and I basically spent 10 years learning business and marketing so I could promote music, basically. Also to make money, because I had to make money, but mostly to promote music. And that took me, I lived in San Diego, I lived in Austin, Texas, Boulder, Colorado, Kansas City, Missouri. Wow. And then I worked in China, in Shenzhen, China for 2 years, where I was a manager for, like, a big Amazon company. They sold a lot on Amazon. And then, so I was studying with all these different entrepreneurs and business owners, all these different places I was living. And then I came back to Salt Lake City when I was 27, basically at the end of my journey to, like, learn all this shit. So then I reunited with my first band, and about a week later I got in this huge fight with the guitar player, and I ended up, like, accidentally knocking his front tooth out. And pretty much devastated like the whole relationship, and I basically left that entire friend group completely because of that incident. So it's like I spent all this time learning marketing to play music, and then I get back and I'm ready to do it, and then like my band falls apart instantly.
Right.
So like I didn't really know what to do, so I just started going to all these like jazz clubs because I wanted to meet like really good musicians.
Right.
So I just went to all jazz clubs and I just sit in, and I just moved back from China, and I didn't have like I just like abandoned my social group.
Right.
So I was pretty much just lone wolf playing at these different places.
Right.
But the first time I played was at this jazz club called Avant Groove, which shut down, but it was pretty cool. And after I played, I just crushed it. That was the first time I played drums in years, and I just like crushed it.
Right.
This jazz song. And Dave was in the audience, and he's like, "Hey, dude, we should jam sometime."
So this is Dave Crespo, right? Yeah.
Dave, yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I jammed with him, and it went okay. But at that point, like I was just playing so much jazz, and he's like, he was never like a jazz guitarist, so he's like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, but he like had me play with Pepper, cause Dave was already in a band,
Right.
and Pepper was like doing solo stuff, but she wasn't really getting a lot of like she was playing open mics, but they weren't like giving her like the respect she deserved. They weren't really giving her good times. Like she wasn't getting opportunities. And so I started playing with her, and our combo together was like pretty much explosive, because it's like with me, like they couldn't ignore her anymore. And as soon as they couldn't ignore her, they realized that she's fucking amazing, like at melodies and lyrics and all this shit.
Yeah.
And so like once I started playing with her, then Dave started playing with us, and like her and Dave had already written a lot of Spirit Machine songs, like more minor, because like Dave was in a lot of party bands where they're like playing upbeat, fun stuff.
Right.
And but together they'd written a lot of minor stuff. And for me, like I'm super into the dark music, like Led Zeppelin, all that stuff. And then I was into the emo stuff as well when I was in junior high. So when they put me that stuff, it just instantly clicked. And we wrote, I'm pretty sure we wrote like Peace was our first song, but I'm pretty sure we wrote that in about a day. Like they already had it done, and I just added drums to it, and we're like, this is fucking awesome. And just went from there. And yeah, the album came together quickly. Filligan, we released that in April.
Okay.
And we wrote that in probably just a few months, because Dave and Pepper can crank out music like crazy, and I'm pretty fast at putting drums on it. So we actually have, like, by the time Filligan came out, we kind of like already had demos for an entire new album, which we're working on right now. So
awesome. Okay.
It's been amazing.
So let me interject a little bit. So basically, you guys clicked. Your chemistry clicked instantly as soon as Dave said, "Let's jam," and then he brought Pepper into the situation, and then everything just clicked between the three of you guys. So then obviously you had to bring in a bass player. You had a bass player. I don't know what that situation may be, but it sounds like the chemistry was there between all three is instant, from what it sounds like you're telling me. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's how Spirit Machines became the band that you are now.
Yeah, and so
awesome. That's great.
That's pretty much what happened. Like it clicked on not just like a jamming level where like you can jam with each other, but also like the tone of the music was really what we all liked. And it's like with this band, like with my high school band, we were always trying to play like what people would like mainstream or whatever. But with this band, it's like it's literally what we want to play 100%. Like there's no, we don't like, other than like we want the audience to like feel like we want to surprise them and stuff. So we write songs like to do that. But other than that, we're only playing the music we really want to play, which is why we have a physical CD and like 11 tracks, and like hardly any of them are under 4 minutes long, which is really the opposite of what they recommend with Spotify and streaming platforms. But
all right, awesome. I'll tell you what, man, I want to thank you, Mike, for taking time out and coming to the Rockin' House and hanging out with us. We're going to get back to Dave and Pepper in just a moment.
Hell yeah.
Inside, where the flames are licking, change your stripes.
I'm here with Pepper and Dave of Spirit Machines. Welcome back, guys. It was really interesting. We started talking about how you guys, got the name and how your influences and different things like that. But now I want to talk about Spirit Machines, and we want to focus, and that's why we're here today. And let's talk about how well this band is actually going within a 2-year span. And you're about ready to release your debut album, which you got this mashup called Sober with a Z, because of Zeppelin, which is a killer rock band. I'm totally influenced by Zeppelin all my life, and of course Tool, another great band that I love. And you guys do an amazing mashup of that. Let's talk about that and how things are moving and rolling for you guys. We'll start with you, Pepper, on that.
Yeah, the Sober was interesting. We were writing a lot of original music. We had a lot of that, but we were playing shows, and people, they want to hear covers, and Dave will play covers, but definitely resistant to it. And so I've been trying to get us to play like a Zeppelin or a Tool cover, and he's like, well, maybe we can try and like play a mashup together. And he's like, they're similar songs, and he played the riffs together, and we just looked at each other like, oh my god, like, has anyone done this? And we looked it up a little bit, and it was hard for me because he wanted me to cut out my favorite parts of the song. It was really tough. I was just like, how can we not have the wasteland scene? But he really helped me put it together, and kind of had the idea of singing them over each other. I felt like they had similar themes of just escapism and wondering why we are the way that we are.
Right. And myself being a musician for 30 plus years, I understand you guys have a good structure, and how you did that song is phenomenal. Like, you got all the aspects of both of those artists within that song. And I think that's what people are seeing, and that's why things are moving up the chart. If you haven't seen that video, you need to check it out. It's gaining numbers like crazy. Dave, let's talk about you. What's your take on doing that mashup?
Well, it's like, the tough part about it, like on a musician to a musician, is that one of them is in 4/4, the other one is in 3/4. So there's some there's parts of it that are, we really had to do some things to like make them, together. And it's Bonham's drumming, which is in 4/4, that really makes it possible to do that. So there's
Very
a part
good point.
If you want to like analyze it too much, which I do all the time, if you go to the end of the song, that's really where we had to like really do some like molding.
Right.
Because right there, we're about to go back to 4/4 in like it's not natural, because like the way that Tool is gonna do it.
Right.
It's just, anyways, that's how I think that when people are like, it's genius or whatever, or it's awesome, I think that's what's awesome about it, is that we were able to like seamlessly put those two times together the same way that Led Zeppelin did that.
That's amazing. And now let's talk about your CD that's coming out. I believe that song is going to be featured on that album. Is that right? That is a song being featured on it? It seems that your album is doing really well. It's really moving up, and you guys are doing well with some sales and everything else that you're very stoked about. I believe Mike did say he's extremely stoked about that. What's your take on this new CD, and what are we looking for in the future? I know with COVID it stopped us all, but what are we looking for? Is there something coming up in the future with the Spirit Machines band that maybe you're going to do some video stuff, or a lot of bands seem to be doing that now?
So this is the CD.
Okay.
This is again, this one's signed.
Nice.
You can get this CD on the internet now if you go to spiritmachinesband.com, and we'll personally send it out to you. We've been sending out a lot each day. It's crazy.
Awesome,
a lot of people think CDs are dead, but not for us.
People want CDs. People are always asking how they can buy our CD, and we've been doing all the distribution ourselves and learning how to be business people. But we just put on a big drive-in concert. Dave here, I think we have a great team. Each Mike running the marketing, and Serge keeping us peppy, and and so I think what we want to do is see if we can't put on a couple of drive-in shows around places, so that people can still safe but feel safe but still get the vibrations. Like
Yes.
digital shows are great, and we are going to make some videos. We have lots of ideas, but
Okay.
I think that our best performance is live, and I think on some of the critiques on Zoper is people didn't feel like I was like angry enough, and I was like, well, you haven't been in the room with me when we're often causing electrical outages, shortages, and making magic.
That's
And
rock and roll.
It's all in person. So I hope to bring that to people.
Very awesome.
Yeah, as far as like future things, we have a few music videos that are in the works. So keep on tap on our YouTube page, youtube.com/spiritmachines.
Very awesome.
And we hope to have a new record out next, like April.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That might be, but something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're writing new songs and getting the band back together after, I don't know, it was weird for a while. We were going to practice, but we've had some really amazing opportunities, I'd say, given COVID, and it's been weird because the world's upside down because we're just, I don't know if we're sinking or flying, I don't know.
Right.
But here there's a lot of shows going on as far as, there aren't a lot, but there are shows going on.
Right.
Which, it might not be a good thing, but it's happening, and, it's hard as a musician to turn that down. We try to make it as safe as possible.
Right.
When we do. I don't think we'd play something if it wasn't going to be safe.
Right.
But we're not against, people doing it safely.
Okay.
And we've been lucky. The bit Zober came out, and we've gotten a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, Tool shared our video. That's like
Tool.
unthinkable.
Really? Wow,
Still
that's
wrapped
awesome.
my mind with that one.
Well, it's like I
Yeah,
said,
on their
it's
Instagram.
excellent. Like what you guys structured is a really very excellent job. That's coming from a musician, and no question. And I've seen people that watched your video and saying it as well. So you guys did it right, man. No question about it. And you did it live. You didn't do like these mashups that people do I see on there. No, you guys are actually performing it, and that's the difference right there, guys. All right, man. Well, I'll tell you what. I want to talk a little bit what's going on to close our show today. We talked about COVID, and you're saying there's still things going on, and that's right. There is a lot of things going on, but where do you guys see this band in the future? And before we even get into that, let's talk about Sergio, who's your bass player. How did that guy come into it? Like, we can't leave your bassist. I'm a bassist myself, but I also play multiple instruments. But what's with Sergio? How did he come into the mix of Spirit Machines?
Sergio is when I moved out here to Salt Lake City, he was kind of just like in the fold as far as my friend group that I was in. He worked at a bar, and
Noble Pest.
He had a band called Noble Pest that I booked a few times.
Okay.
And that band broke up, and I love when bands break up because that means I can take a member of that band.
I was sad. I was a fan, so I was sad. I was like, what? And then we were looking to add another guitarist or another guitar because we had a bassist, but he didn't want to play bass. He's a drummer, so he didn't want to play the bass really. We were making him play bass, and then when Sergio became free, it was immediate. We immediately wanted him, and we forced him into another band first, actually, to be the bassist.
No, that's not true. That's not how that went.
No? Oh, sorry. He was the bassist.
But yeah, so he was just like, there's a bunch of just kind of outcast Salt Lakers that hang out at the bar called Purgatory. We all worked there at some point. So, we were all friends from there, and Sergio just, it's kind of like when you get, you're in a long-standing relationship with someone, you have to be friends with their friends to, for that to work out.
Right, yep. Right.
He was going to end up playing music with us at some capacity, and it ended up being with Spirit Machines. And he's a wild card. I think a lot of the stuff that I throw and Pepper throws is stability.
Okay. All right.
He brings kind of crazy, just different things that you wouldn't expect to the songs.
Right. Very good bassist. Me being a bassist, I'm watching. He's good. Very good bass player, absolutely creative. I see the creativeness that's going on with that guy. And that's good stuff.
Love him.
You know, and let's just close our show with just one more thing here. Let's talk about, you know, what type of gear maybe you prefer to play to create the Spirit Machine sound. Like, what's your preferable, like, axe of choice, guitar of choice, would you say?
Well, I play Les Pauls.
Okay.
I played 1997 Double Cutaway,
Nice.
which is Joe Perry played on Nine Lives, which is in some ways a good record, in some ways not a good record, but I like a lot of parts of it. But I like that guitar because it's kind of like a Fender, like as close to a Fender that a Les Paul gets.
Okay.
Because it's a double. It's light as far as Les Pauls go.
Sure.
Light?
Yeah, it's pretty light. And it doesn't have a lot of knobs. I'm always confused by too many knobs.
Okay.
It just has a volume knob and like like your tone knob. But as far as an amplifier, I play a Music Man. My I think it was my birthday like 2 years ago. Pepper and my friend Dex threw down and got me a 1975 Music Man.
Nice.
And a Music Man is like when Leo Fender, when he sold Fender to like corporations, he started his own like boutique brand. He made G&L guitars, which eventually Fender bought, and then he was making a Music Man amplifiers, which was kind of the Bill, the Deluxes, but that he was making them all by hand. So essentially, this amplifier that I play, Leo Fender touched himself. He made himself.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, we own two actually. Yeah, we bought one to bring to Boston when we recorded because it's a signature sound, I'd say.
Very awesome. Very awesome.
Band.
So we basically have something to look forward into the new year here. It looks like you guys said you're putting out another CD. So we'll get that information as we move on and into the months here, and we'll keep in touch with these guys, and we'll definitely make sure that we do the right promotions. We'll get all the information that we need to so we can promote them properly and keep things rolling despite of what the COVID's bringing us as musicians here. So I want to say thank you to Pepper, Dave, and also to Mike to come on the Rockin' House show. We appreciate your time today, guys. Thanks so much. Keep rocking. I'm Marky Z, and I'm out.
Climb through the white, breach the tomb of the ancient tribe to see the spire. It's effortless. I slip inside. Place at the